Good morning, folks. The Enzo DiCostanzo podcast. That's what. So from now on, we'll be introducing the Enzo DiCostanzo podcast. Apparently, so yeah, let's hit the third video for present value. We've been working on that, so let's do that. Yeah, so folks, what we're gonna do instead of instead of the whole sort of story here, just instead of just doing a podcast on the PowerPoints only, we're gonna integrate them into the Excel. So time value of money is the chapter, and then for most of January 2023, this is what we're gonna be working on. And again, here's the topics, and we've discussed these topics previously, at least introduced them, but we'll go just through the list again: future value and compounding interest, present values, multiple cash flows, reducing the chore of Well, I'm not a big supporter, or someone who agrees with calling finance calculations a chore, but okay, I mean, if you want to look at it that way. Level cash flows, perpetuities, annuities, effective annual interest rates, inflation, and the time value of money. A long chapter in this textbook, and a critical chapter that many other chapters rely on you guys understanding this material. So it's important material to really have a comfort level with, kind of a thing. But 8 sections, and nothing simple about any of them. So future value, the amount which investment will grow after earning interest. And I think we had the Manhattan Island example, where there's an allegation that Manhattan Island was purchased from whoever the title holder was 400 years ago, apparently. And what that $24 would be worth today, and is that what the real estate value and the structures and the land is really worth on Manhattan Island? So 400 years later, so we had that discussion in the previous video. Today's Excel will be it'll just be one problem. It's just going to be the microchip expansion, and to me, it's near and dear to my previous sort of career, where I started in physics at Rutgers when I graduated NJIT initially, worked in the semiconductor research area, covered semiconductor industry for Value Line. So it's something that I'm very sort of aware of. And you guys, you may have heard this characterization, or heard the story of semiconductors, or not. I recall, I was very lucky. The whole computer evolution sort of happened when I was in high school, and then into college, and then my years at Rutgers, and it was all my very formative years of all of this developing. So we learned from inputs and outputs, and printers and keyboards and disk drives and microprocessors and memory chips and the floppy disks and all the different ways to store data, and the binary numbering system, and all this stuff about digital electronics and computer science is the main area. It was called computer science at one time. Now it's computing sciences. There's all information systems. There's all sorts of sort of buzzwords to it at this point. But so the microprocessor is the logic of operating, and it sounds very simple, the logic of operating a computer. But if you break down you getting into your car in the morning, all the steps, you open the door, you unlock the door, you put the window down, you turn the heat on, or whatever, you start the car up, and by the way, you especially during the cold months, you should always start your car and let it run a few minutes, let everything warm up, and all the fluids get to where they got to go. The transmission fluid, especially the oil and the lubricants and the wheels and all these other kinds of things. You want the vehicle, even modern vehicles and all this stuff, you want them to warm up. Always keep that in mind. But all the steps, just getting your car going in the morning, and backing out of the driveway, and locking the gate, and the padlock, and all the different things that you do. Break that down into decisions and ones and zeros, and sort of digitize every single thing. And again, my courses are very structured to you thinking that way, to thinking very scientifically. And 2023 is my third. I can't believe it. My third decade of doing this. I can't believe it's been that long. But I started. You're most of your a couple years older than most of you guys. I started very right away, and I really recommend that. I try to avoid being 27 and you're still sort of fumbling, unless you want to be AOC for a living, which that's basically she fumbled around until her 30s, until she was 32 or whatever it was. You want to get going on what you're doing, as fast as possible. No, and I know the Jesuits agree with her. She wrote something in the Jesuit magazine. I understand that, but I think playing on the fears of not that people who are not that educated, not that wealthy, and making a career out of that, and saying, "Well, you're trying to help people," is not really my idea of leadership. But that's that's for another time, having those kinds of discussions. But I think that's unfortunately both political. Forget about it. There's no Democrats are right, or Republicans are wrong, or vice. It's none. It's the whole political structure sort of designed that way. Europe, it's a little bit different, and some of these other places a little bit different. But it's so easy to abuse that trust. And I'll tell you, a big part of I asked you guys to listen to the Warren Buffett interview with Charlie Rose recently, and what I'd like you guys to be able to do is listen to that end to end, and just go through his what why he does what he does, and sort of what he likes about what he does the most. And I learned as a kid that I don't know what made me think this way, or what happened, but I always said to myself, I want to, my parents trust me, and I want to make sure I never let them down. And that's true. The people I work with, Mike, all the different people, all the different you guys, the students, I never want people not to trust me, and to that you've put faith in me, and I want to deliver and exceed expectations all the time. That's always an important piece of the puzzle. So let's getting back to the topics here: future value, compounding interest, simple interest. These are all very critical concepts in what we do here. So future value is the amount to which an investment will grow after earning interest. Compounded interest is interest earned on interest, and simple interest is interest only earned on the original investment. I haven't seen anything with that last one. I've never seen an instrument where it's simply interest earned on the initial principal, and it's not interest, or it's not compound. I've never seen anything like that, but it's in here. Also, this book was written far longer ago than might seem that it was written. Interest earned at a rate of 6% for 5 years. I think we went through this in Excel, and now if you look at this, this is a PowerPoint, and you see it in the textbook. It's these little couple line problems, but look at we modeled it out. Look at the effort and the work and the number of lines that were involved in modeling out what we did here. So interest earned per year, and we showed you how the balances add up and what the final balance is after 5 years, and things of that nature. So always keep that in mind. Well, actually, I'm thinking with my mom, maybe Social Security, because she gets like a pension check from my father, because my father was in the Italian Air Force. I'm trying to think how long ago, 80 years ago or whatever it was, something like that, but long ago in Italy. And she gets a pension check, and it's a fixed amount, and it goes up based on inflation a little bit, but that could be, I'm trying to think of examples of simple interest. That could be something where Social Security, or where you're not necessarily earning interest on interest, but you're earning interest on some base amount. So that could be the Social Security system or the pension systems or something like that. So I'm not a big pension guy. Okay, so maybe the people who do that for a living, the portfolio people, it's a little more of a systematic view of things. But looking here, it says the value at the end of 5 years. So that's pretty, 5 times 6 is 30. So even with simple interest, you're making some movement with this. Now this is compounding interest. They take the prior year balance times 6%, and I think we've done some of the Excel versions of that. And you can see how different, instead of 100 and whatever it was, that was 130. That version, this is 133. It doesn't seem like a lot, but you put a couple zeros at the end of this, and you start caring about this stuff a lot. How these things are computed, and when, and all that. You care a lot more about it when there's a few more zeros at the end of it. And you can see how the interest changes every year. In the 50 year, it's already $1. It's already 15%, or 25% of the original. The original interest was 6. You're $1.50 more almost. So that's about 25% increase just from in a couple years. So it moves pretty quickly. Formula, I like formula. My approach, I think I said to you guys the last video, I remember very clearly at NJIT, and struggling with these courses, mind you. because I wasn't using Excel as much as I should. There was a lot of things happening in these courses, and a lot of and I the people who I is when I was a student in college, and even at Queens College, funny enough, which was just a couple of years ago, the technology skill of the professors, it's not where it needs to be, and I don't know. That's just something. Yeah, yeah, that's what I was waiting for. It's something that needs to be, you have to be more computer literate. I think, and that's not picking on anyone. That's not picking on Queens College or whatever it is. Across the board, I think that the comfort has to be there because this is how you work. I mean, I'm not getting on a plane and going to Vienna or going wherever, or going to California. Every time you need to talk to somebody, it's an email and an attachment and a YouTube video. So the more of this that you can do, I think the better off you're going to be, and I think it's going to pay dividends for you in the very long term. But yeah, and we're going to go through a lot, and this is where the columns help you, where you have the columns in Excel, and you do these computations over 50 years or 100 years or something like that. We were talking about the microprocessor, the number of trends. And I know you guys probably don't know what a transistor is, but a transistor is it's like a switch, like an electronic switch where it's on or off, and those series of ones and zeros represented by those physical switches makes the computer work. And the number of individual transistors that you can put on a microchip is a very large number, like an astronomical number. And we're going to look at what those numbers, if from one or two transistors to 1,000 to 10,000 to, we'll see what the numbers are. Numbers very large. Okay, and you have lots of memory, folks. I have 6 microprocessors in my town. My computer's about 10 or 12 years old, 12 years old, and I've got 6, and it still works fine. The computer still works fine, but I know I need to upgrade this. But and so I get an email a couple years ago from some students says, "Why are you still using Windows 7 or whatever?" I don't even realize the version of Windows that I'm using. But someone said, "Why are you still using that version?" And it just, I never had a problem with what I was doing. Just because there's all these other things that should happen in the world doesn't mean that the technology isn't as integrated. The older technology isn't as integrated any longer. Always keep that in mind. But like I said, so we'll look at the number of transistors on the microprocessor. So I just gave you a little bit of background, and actually, if we can, I probably should find a picture of it. And this is going back to when I interned at IBM and all sorts of things all sorts of things in my life. Microprocessor image. Yeah, this thing. That's the microprocessor. So, and this is the size of a quarter, or a size of you could put in the palm of your hand. This stuff. I mean, it's this thing. And when I taught at DeVry for just a couple of years, long ago, and we actually soldered circuits. I mean, very basic logic circuits. We did some soldering and different things. And I remember this kid. These things. This looks very innocent here, but these things can be sharp. These little contacts, these electrical contacts. I don't know what the guy was doing, but he put they had these big workbenches, a room with all sorts of workbenches and oscilloscopes. And again, you're getting taught by somebody who luckily has lots of experience. And I remember we had all the sort of electrical lab equipment to learn about electrical signals and direct current and alternating current and how the logic circuits work and all these other kinds of things. And the guy, this thing was, I guess, face up, and he put his hand on the bench and stuck himself with the contacts. This looks like it's sort of designed for that not to happen, but we had this one, something like this. What, I don't know, whatever this is. So yeah, I didn't realize Walmart sold these. See, but these are sharp, okay, or not knife sharp, but they're not dull. Okay, so yeah, so you could buy a microprocessor for $22 at Microsoft. You guys probably don't remember, but Radio Shack was the big home hobbyist, electronic baseball game and electronic sports game shop, and people could make their own circuits and computers, and it was the electronic guys hobbyist spot. And now it's gone under, and I'm sure it'd be a good case study to try to figure out what happened to Radio Shack. But they were all over the place. They were like, I don't want to say like McDonald's, but they were everywhere. And and I used to go in there, buy circuits and components and things of that nature. But now you can buy everything online. I think that's probably what did it. You can just pick up everything online. But this is what microprocessors look like. They go through all the inputs and the outputs, and you're making a phone call and downloading a video and watching a video. It all happens. These are what's called the brains of the computer. You should look up what a microprocessor is. And see here, this is what it really looks like. it's flat. See, it's this, and you can't see. I mean, this is I guess a picture, but you need like very sophisticated, serious microscope, serious equipment to really to look at these circuits. You can't just with your fingers, start playing around with this. Star Trek. I'm a big Star Trek guy. And I remember seeing an episode, and generally Star Trek is pretty accurate in terms of how it portrays science and technology. But the commander was reprogramming like one of these chips with his fingers, and it was ridiculous. I'm saying to myself, "Are you kidding me?" Folks, let me tell you, Star Trek was made whatever in the 80s or the 90s or the Next Generation, which was the one after the original. Even then, I interned at IBM in the 90s, and even then, these things were very, a hair from your head if it got into the manufacturing process or you know, could short circuit something or very delicate. Very, if you breathe, if you see the people, it's called a clean room when they put these things together, and it's a chemical process. There's not somebody going in there with their hands. You're heating and cooling and chemicals. It's very much uh, chemical engineering. Um, here they are. Here's a clean room. Here's some guys. See, they make these discs, and there's all this looks like they're testing. But yeah, so Intel has 100 million transistors per square millimeter. A square millimeter is a corner of your fingernail. Okay, a square millimeter is a very small area, and there's 100 million switches there. So that's at your engineering things at the atomic level. And again, I don't want to. We're going to go on and on about this, but you can see these are clean rooms. These are, and people are all like cleaner than an operating room. If you're having heart surgery, that room is dirtier than this, I think. And see, this guy has his mask off, and these guys, I remember when I worked for IBM, I was in there very briefly, just sort of checking some things out. But there are people who are wrapped up like this all day long, and they made a decent amount of money. But I said to myself, boy, I wouldn't want. That was, I think, that was the beginnings of moving on to something else because I just didn't want to. I didn't want to just keep doing that. So I couldn't see. Yeah, these are here's the steps of the microprocessor manufacturing. But here, this thing, let's see if we can find the source page on this. Yeah, this is what we're doing. Okay, this is what we're doing here. Whoops. That's the manufacturing process. As you can see, that we're approaching the size of atoms. True. How small can a transistor be? So okay, this is 10,000, 10 million or 10,000. That's a decimal was 10,000 nanometers. So you want the numbers don't get smaller, right? It's not how many our problem is going to be how many transistors can you fit on a chip versus how big a transistor is. So this number is going to be getting smaller. It went from 10,000 nanometers to 4 nanometers. So whatever factor that, many, 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 many times, and the atomic level is a tenth of a nanometer. Okay, so you can see all these. You should never, folks. If you ever clean the inside of your computer, like get the dust out, you should shut the system off, unplug it, never start touching things because you can short circuit and ruin your system that could have cost $2,000 or something like that. Mine, that's about what mine cost. Okay, you want to be very careful. This is the Intel 4, Pentium 4, Intel Core, whatever this is, i7. AMD's version, the IBM PowerPC 60, all these names from the past are sort of popping up here. I don't know here's the years. Here's from 71 to today. This is what we're doing mathematically. Okay, so we're going to hit and it's good that we found this here. And actually, what I should do, let's see if I can copy image. Can we get this in here somehow? Paste. Yeah, we got it. There it is. All right. Yeah, we can move it around a bit. Yeah, there you go. And this is a little bit better. Gordon Moore. See Gordon Moore. They're using a logarithmic scale. Okay, but that's what you have here. I'm going to save this, and we'll dump our the net into our current sheet. We'll dump that on there as we're working on it. Okay. Now this is going to make this a little more unwieldy in terms of dealing with it, but that's fine. Okay, but that's what we're doing. Okay, that's what we're doing, folks. So what else do we have here? So yeah, we had this thing, future value. We made this graph the last video for different rates. Obviously, as the rate increases, your dollar value, your left hand, excuse me, left hand side of the equation gets bigger with bigger rates of increase. Okay, so we're getting into exponential math, and I think this is the last one. This is the Manhattan Island one. So we'll get to this next set. We'll get to this next set soon, but that'll be the next video. But this is the Manhattan Island version of this is here. And actually, if you guys don't mind, I forgot to open up a file here. Yeah, here. So we're on time value 3, which is here. Copy, paste. PowerPoints. 1, 2, 11. And we're going to work on oh, yeah, this is the Gordon Moore stuff. Escape. I mean, whatever you highlight something, you always want to escape. But yeah, so we'll get to this in a second. But yeah, so Peter Minuet bought the island Manhattan $24 and whatever, however many, 400 years later, what is that worth today? And again, that's what the model tells us at that rate. But if we use 8%, then I think we use 3.5 or something. But what is it really worth? Right? So it says note the value is well below that figure. Okay. So obviously the models is overshooting us a bit. And then we have a bunch of the present value ones and some applications. So there's groups of these things here, some of the differential calculators, perpetuity. And as we get through the videos, if we need to finish up some of the PowerPoints, but I think we'll try to stick pretty close with everything. I didn't want to just rattle off 56 of these things. Okay, so I don't want to do that. So, okay, so our last Excel for this particular section, Gordon Moore, one of the founders of Intel, which is the company that made microprocessors. There's a memory company and software companies. There's all sorts of companies involved in computer technology. Said the number of transistors can be placed on a silicon chip would double every 18 months. So he probably said this at some meeting somewhere. Again, 1973. So what you need to do is you're going to say, or you're going to try to back out doubling something every 18 months. How do I annualize that? Because 18 months is a year and a half. How do I annualize that number? So theoretically, what it means is that 1 plus 59% to the 1.5 power should equal 2. That's really what that says. So the first microprocessor was built in 71, had 2,500, 2,250 transistors. By 2010, the chips had 2.3 billion. It's over a million times the number 39 years later. In 2015, the high-end chips contained 5.5 billion, nearly 2.5 million times the number. So yeah, so we got through all those numbers, and we'll bring it up to 2022 or so. We'll do all of that in here. Okay, so we'll work on that as we're looking at this. And these are some of these. So obviously, looking at this, we want to do another piece of this. We want to do 2022, which is right there, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that. Right there. Okay. Yeah, we want to do the math. Okay, obviously we want to do some of this math too, as we're looking at this. So how did we do this? We just here we just did the numbers. Yeah, this was we just worked out the numbers here, and that's it. So let's start with that. Again, we're doing the mid-year computation. And also where we got that, where we got this 59%. We're actually, that's maybe the first thing that I want to. We'll get to those in a second. Let's get to where the 59% came from. Okay, let's do that. All right, because there's some now. Again, granted, you're probably looking at this math saying, "Oh boy, what are we doing here?" Well, I mean, look, you can't separate what's going on. Okay, you can't separate that. The notes that you were given here, this 59% over year and a half, mathematically, you would write that like this. It'd be 1 times 1 plus r to the 1.5 power. And you want to solve for r. Okay, that's what you're trying to do. You want to solve for r. Okay, that's really what you want to do here. Let's solve for r with this. So it's 1 plus whatever rate is over, if to raise to the power of 18 months, kind of a thing, or a year and a half, whatever if it's an annual. So you look, R is the annual, the annual rate. So R, solve for R, annual rate. And also what we need to do, we want to go down a couple years with this to 2022. All right, you want to extend that a bit to 2022, and we'll get to that. Okay, so we're here. So solve for R. So now you got to go divide both sides by that 1, if you can do that. And also, see this 1.5? Another way to write 1.5 is 3 halves. So what you could do is you could take the natural log, and without going into, you should look into pre-calculus or something like that, and look at logs and exponentials. It's how big numbers were written before we had the technology to communicate them today. There was a certain base 10 or base E or something, or base 2 or whatever it was, and you'd write the number using the natural log. But without going into the detail of it, you're just operating on both sides. So let's just leave it at that with natural logs. And what that allows you to do is you can take this exponent multiplied in front. So that's 3 halves times the natural log, or log base E of 1 plus R equals log base E of 2. Okay, so again, expanding this a little bit more to get rid of the 3 halves from this side, multiply the whole thing by 2/3. 2/3 times natural log base E of 2. This is log base E of 1 plus R. And continuing to solve for R, you can say 1 plus R equals base E to this exponent. This is just a number. This 2/3 times natural log of 2, but it's just a complete number. Okay, and I learned that a long time. I learned that. I was very happy that I learned that very early in my math, when I was a math professor as a young kid in my 20s, that you should write the whole number, not just some decimal. So you're going to subtract 1 from both sides. This is E to the exponent 2/3 times natural log. That's just a number. Okay, so -1 is here, and that's it. Here it is. It's -1 plus E 2/3 ln of 2. That's it. That's your answer. So now you're gonna now looking at this. So this is the annual rate for a coin to double in 1.5 years. You can say equals -1 plus exponentiation parenthesis 2 divided by 3 times natural log of 2. Okay, and there you go. There's your 58.74%. That's the 50. They said 59, but that's your number up here. That's the 59%. So every year and a half, at an annual rate, you're going to be growing at 58.74%. Okay. This is just very general what we did here. For some reason, I felt compelled to do this in a general way. So this is future value. So future value is 2, present value is 1. Then just solve for R. And it's just the same math. You divide both sides by present value, take the natural log of both sides, break this out, base E, 1 plus R to the T, solve for R. The T becomes in front, can be multiplied in front, and then divide both sides by T. So it's 1 over T plus natural log, future divided by present equals natural log base E, 1 plus R, solve for the R, and it would be, let's see, 1 plus R. Why do I have this with the T here? I don't know why I have it with the T here, but I somehow do. 1 plus R E. Yeah, it's this. So we have this one here. Log base E, 1 plus R. Yeah, I don't know why I have this. This should be the next logical step. And folks, I've taught this a lot. If you're up here, this could be up there like that. Yeah, E natural log. Yeah, this is the better one, where the T is already compensated for here. 1 plus r equals exponentiation 1 over t, natural log, future divided by present, solve for r. And that's it. And just -1 e to the 1 over t natural log. So I know this was more than he asked for, which is why I wanted to do this in a separate video. But I just showed you where these what the derivation is, and just to give you a picture what the, I don't want to say the real math guys, but that's what the real math would look like, is something like that. Okay, that's the real mathematics is there. Okay, and now you're going to apply it to this problem where you have, now we went through sort of the derivations here, and there's some other stuff here that we're going to fight our way through that. Okay, so this all started in 71, I suppose. Yeah, in 71 is where this all started. So he made that comment in 73, but 71 is where it started. And you have to start someplace. You got to start someplace. So this is 0. And then what you would do, you would do mid-year. You would do mid-year computations. See, it's just +1. So you'd go all the way down. Control D. And it seems to keep it, yeah, mid-year. Yeah, this is all just mid-year stuff. So copy. We brought for the 51st year, right? We brought the little comment with us, mid-year. We all know it's mid-year. Okay, so it's not January 1st or anything. It's, we're just assuming a mid-year computation. And the other piece of this is 2,250. Oops. So you got a little bit of a physics lesson, and a little bit of an electrical engineering lesson today. That's really what was there. Okay. So what did we do here? This was, yeah. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take that rate that we computed, that 58.74, you're going to add 1 to it, and then you can just keep raising it. That's how I did it here. I just kept raising it by a year, 2 years. Right, that's 1.5 times. So what do we say this was? Okay, twice. Yeah. So this is a year. So yeah. So 1.5 is between 2.5 and 1.5. Yeah. So yeah, we just kept now. Also, what you can do, you could just take the previous. See this predicted times increase. You could just take that. So here we did it like, because I'm looking at this. There's a couple ways we could do it. Equals parenthesis 1 plus. There's this thing. Anchor that. Yeah, that looks like that would work. Yeah. We could just keep referring to the top, to the previous one, or use the exponentiations. Actually, this is a year. This is actually a year out, so that's not accurate there. So this would be equal parenthesis 1 plus, and you can just lock the row, and then use the exponent. Use that number as the exponent, and you're going to lock the column. See, now you have a couple years of this. This is so annually. So obviously, 71 is your base year. So the next year, it'd be 1.5 times, and 2 years later, 2.5 times. 3 years later, 4 times. 4 years later, 6.3, and then 1976. It's the first time it's gonna be 10 times more. And like I said, I could just sit there, go boom, boom. Compute all these things as we go. But let's look at some sort of milestones with this. Okay, so this is based on the formula. This is the predicted times that this is, how much this is going to change. So this would be, and also, we keep anchoring. So, like I said, you can do this in a way in a way where excuse me. You can do this in a way where you just refer to the cell above you or the 1971 number. So how we looked at this is we looked at this, we said this times that rate right there. And what we did was we locked that row and we locked that column. So we went to, yeah, whatever was 10 times. So there. So 10 times is 22,676. Yeah, 679. So yeah, so you can see right here, 76 in a very short amount of time, right? You're 10 times, right? So very, very quickly, you're 10 times this number. So yeah. So this one right here, insert, this is 10. Okay. That's the first one, is 10 times. Yeah, so you're still referring to the 58, and let's see what's next. So here, 10th year, right? The 10th year, that's 100 times, right? The 10th year. This is 100 times, right? Which is right there. That's 220,586. So by factors of 10, and we could work our way through the whole system with this. I'm just going to copy this. Oh, let's go to 20. Yeah, this is 100 times. This is a million. You know, this is a 1,000 times. This is 10,000 times. Right, all that stuff. You're down to 23 million transistors at 10,000 times, right? Because it was 2,250. So you have up to 23 million transistors on a microprocessor. All right, and then you can just go the whole. Now at this point, you just do the whole story here. This is 2.7 billion times, a billion times, 676 million, whatever, 100 million times, 67 million times. Okay, and I had some extra. I had some decimal. I had 4 decimal places, but like you have to sort of look past that. Now these numbers, these are formatted as just numbers. Okay, with 4 decimal places, so you got to be careful with your extra zeros here. Okay, so this is the model. The model's predicting this. So it's 2.7 billion, and where we are now, this would be insert. This would be 10. 1 billion, 2.7 billion, 10 billion, and this is 17 billion. So it grew a lot. Okay, and you see how, and like I said, so I try to put the brakes on a bit as we do this and say, all right, well, look at this, look at this, look at this, and this is where we started. We started with that. Okay. So we're not done, but that's so there. This is just how many times, but you started with 2,000. Okay, so now if you're looking at this, this is what? This is 2.3 million transistors predicted based on an annual appreciation assumption. Yeah. Okay. And then yeah. So we have the commentary already 2.3 million, and we'll just go all the way down. Control D. This is 1.5 trillion, 100,000, 100 million, 100 million. Yeah, 1.5 trillion. Okay. And this is, make this bigger. So this is 24 trillion. 24 trillion. Which is right there. It's 1.5, 100, 100,000, 100 million. Yeah, trillion, 38 trillion. Yeah, we're up to your 30, based on how many microprocessors were initially there. All right, so you have how many times it appreciates, and you have the actual predicted based on the model. What this, what the prediction here would be. Okay, what's next? And I had a couple books. And actually, here, if you look at this, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, 8. These 8 innocent little lines in the textbook, which is the self test. So we're spending a whole video just on this one problem, which in finance is sort of typical. We're going to actually look at the actual numbers from just previous textbooks. So we have the predicted and the how many times and all that. This was actual, right? That's actual 2.3. And anyway, we have this other ratio here. Actual here was 5.5 billion in 2015. I don't have some of the other numbers, but looking at this though, this is how many times it moves, and this is these were sort of actually what we could do here. We could just take this, and I'm sure if I looked up the most recent textbook, we'll find. So this is 2010, and 15 is 5.5 billion. Escape. Yeah, and again, I apologize for not having the 2022 numbers, but we could. I'm sure we could Google it and find it. Okay. So the other things that are going on here now, these other pieces here. So the actual ratio, 20 count to 71 count. This compares to 67 times predicted count after 39 years. Yeah. So what we're doing here, it's yeah, these numbers are the ratios. So this is a million times based on that first number, right? You took 2.3, whatever this is, 2.3 billion divided by 2,250, and what you pulled out from that was a million times. But the formula says 67 million times. You're only at a million times the actual. So the formula is way. And Gordon Moore is a smart guy, and he grew up with the guys who ran in this. I forget the guy in the 2000s, but he was a Jesuit educated guy. I forget his name, but the guy who ran Intel. I forget. I feel terrible. I see him. I see him sitting on the stage, talking to people. But yeah, I know went to Berkeley. He went to I think University of San Francisco or something. I know he's a Jesuit educated guy. But these smart people, and their models are that far off. Okay, so the model's predicting 67 million times, and so you're 1/67th of what the model says. And this other one here, the model is predicting 676 million times, and you only have 2 million times here, the actual ratio. Okay, this is just simply this number divided by these, just the blues divided by the blues is really what these are. And this is, you're going to lock that 37 in right there, and you're going to lock the column in. Copy Alt H the formula. Okay, so yeah, so you're this, so you're it's predicting 67, and you only got a million, right? It's predicting 676 million times, and you got 2.5 million. Okay, so these models could be way. It gives you a sense of comfort. Oh, we have some sort of prediction or whatever, but it really just comes down to the transactions and how that overly goes down. Okay, I got some other stuff to fill in down here, I think. Yeah, because the solution sort of looked at it like this. So it says at 58% annual growth, Moore's law predicted 67 million times increase from 71 to 2010. Okay, which is here. Fine, right. That we're in agreement with that. The actual increase was about a million times. Okay, the actual increase was about a million times. We just talked about that. Okay, so the actual computer growth rate was 42%, which was about 0.75% of the growth rate. How'd we get that? So let's remind ourselves how we got that. So yeah, we just backed this out is what we basically did. Yeah, we backed this out. Yeah, you started with how many years and what the thing, how many times the thing grew to, and you backed out that. So looking at the actual numbers, you got to a million, right? You got to a million transistors or whatever this was. No, you got to a million times. So you got to 150 billion. No, you got to right. No, you got to 2.3 million. Right, from 2,250 based on the years here is what you basically did. So yeah. So let's actually, and also let's do something else that we not forget, but and here, so this is equal to, actually we could do it like this. You could do 2010 minus 71, right? 71 and 2010. Okay. So you can lock right there. Right, which is that. This next one, copy 2015. Not 2015 anymore. It's 13 right there. It's 2015. 44 years. All right, and this is 51. That's 51 times. So, and I don't know if we're gonna if we have the data to mess with that one. But we have the other two from the other two textbooks. Okay. So yeah, so here's where really the actual, to get to these numbers, right? To get to this from this. So that's why I broke this down this way. I'm using this formula. So this is going to be equal to -1 plus, without re-explaining how and why we did all this. 1 divided by yeah, 1 divided by the 39 times future divided by the present. Those are your actual numbers, parenthesis and parenthesis. So what happened here? Yes, I think this yeah, these might not be formatted accurately. Oh no, they're numbers. Okay, those are all numbers. So what happened here? Hmm. Check out. Oh, that's a number. Okay, that's okay. Yeah, roll numbers. So what happened here? Oh, I see what happened. Okay. See, when you have a problem with that, you break it down a bit and then multiply. I think that's what it was. Natural log. There it is. Of future divided by present. Close. Close. There it is. There's your 42. Sorry about that. I probably left out something in there. There's your 42.9%. But it's 1 over the t. All right. And folks, I want to commend you for persisting and listening to all this. Okay. Because this is this is out there. Okay. This is out there. And the other what let's just see, remind myself what I did here. This was yeah, so this is the ratio of the ratios. So yeah, we're really getting mathematical now. So what is, as a percentage, that 42 over the 50? The guys in the book did that. They said, oh, it's about three quarters of the. So I just wanted to show you guys where the three quarters came from. Okay. And then now we did this, another version of this, because yeah, I can't do, I extended these, but I can't do the 2022 or whatever it is, because I don't have the latest, whatever other year they put the actual transistor. I can look it up, but we're not going to worry about that right now, because this is we're not doing an electrical engineering class here. And the last version of this, it's the same thing. This is about 2/3 of the predicted growth rate. So looking at this, so here, let's look at the assessment here. So what we're saying is, at a 58% annual growth rate, so what are we concluding? At a 58% annual growth rate, Moore predicted 67 million times increase in the transistors from 71 to 2010. The actual increase is about a million from 71 to 2010. Actual computer growth rate is 42%, which is about three quarters of the predicted rate. Those four lines, the people you work with or whatever it is, that's all they're going to really be listening to. They're relying on you, that you did the math right and you generated your tables and your models. These guys are going to be relying on you to do that, and they may not necessarily be checking it. And it could be way down the road where if there was a problem, it comes up and, oh man, you did this and you did that. And you might as well just jump out of the window at that point. I mean, because it's just not, it's not going to turn out well for you. If you made some error here that, a 20-year-old kid at Rutgers, should have been able to do. And, there's some mistake there. So now the next version of this is this again. And all I'm going to do, I'm going to copy and paste this here. And what we'll do is, this is this one. All right. This is the 44 years, and this is the 2050. Okay. And this is going to be, we'll lock in this and get the ratio of the percentage. So you're taking the 30, whatever, the 40% over the 60% and say, okay, it's about 2/3 of the, and it is, it's about 2/3 of the growth. And again, you're concluding, this is your conclusion. All right, that's that conclusion. And this is this conclusion. Is that. Okay. So that's that. All right. So this was probably the most mathematical thing you'll see uh, in what we're doing here. Right. That's the most mathematical thing you'll see what we're doing here. And like I said, folks, I apologize for not having. Well, here the latest numbers on this. What's the trend processing power? There. Let's do this. $2 billion. 2 billion. So how's that helping us here? 5. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, this is, oh wait, yeah, that's why it's 08. So that's why we said 2022, folks. Here's something with Forbes. So you can see this, folks. This is a, this is a cared about area, right? You can see there's a lot here. Here, this is some here. I can do a little bit of work with you guys if you don't mind. Oops. Yeah, we do a little C Forbes, right? C Forbes not going to mind. So let's see. I used to go to these industry when I was at Value Line. I used to go to these industry shows a lot. Until did that. See Moore's Law. Okay, and then this is October 4th. Okay, so we have all that. Let's see what we're gonna do with this. Where I was fortunate to attend the meetup. This okay, that's the CEO of Intel. No, okay. I don't know what net means, but okay. Folks have on the value. Thirteenth generation processor. The idea will double 7th generation. She will have 1 trillion by the end of the decade. Okay, so 100 billion today. Okay, so it's 100 billion today. 5 nodes. And see, folks, this is called research, right? What we're doing here, this is called research. Okay, so Forbes. So yeah, but so here, as we were doing this, we updated it. We updated things a bit. Okay, so we're here. Yeah, good enough. Got to be careful with the dates because if you don't make it text, it's gonna try to format it for you. So where are the numbers now? Conference to the Moore's Law. Billion today. All right, right there. We'll yellow this out. Okay. So 2022 is 100 billion. Okay, so let's see what we can do with that. Yeah, it's 100 billion. Right, 100,000. So yeah, that's 100 billion. So edit 100. Okay. And we'll do the latest version. We'll do another one of these little boxes here with the current numbers. That's 100 billion. Yeah. We'll edit the comment here. Copy. All right, we'll put a new comment in. So again, folks, this is research. This is what research looks like. Move this thing over a bit. So it's over there. And this is going to be 38 trillion. Billion, 100,000, 100 billion. So yeah, so the idea we were going to 38 trillion. We're only to 100 billion now with this, and we'll do this. Copy, paste here. Actually, this number. This is 15. This is 10. 44, 39. So 51. Let's change the number of years first. So 51 years. And the count was 1,000,000, 17 billion. This is 17 billion. This is 2.7, 10. That's 17 billion. Okay, so 100 billion, 5. Okay, so we're at 100, and actual ratio 44,000. Yeah, 44,000. And this is yeah, as opposed to 17 predicted 51. And the prediction here was 30, 100, 100,000, 100 million. Yeah, 30. Yeah. So the prediction was 38 trillion, and we're only up to 100 billion. Okay, so those are the so yeah, you guys are getting the freshened version. And see this, folks. Again, this is how research happens, right? And then you pull this out, right? You pull out one of these. Save your work as you go. And here we're 2. So transistors from 15, 22. And predicted 6, 17 billion times. Increase, the actual increase is about 44. Right? And the growth rate is there's 51 years. This is this. So this, the rate's holding steady in the 40s. It's about 40%, right? That rate's holding steady. So now we're at about 70% compared to actual growth rate. So about 2/3 actual growth rate, 41. 0.24%. Years. All right, we did 51 years out of this. One. All right, we did 51 and 52 as the exponent index. Okay. There you go. So we updated it just sort of on the fly here, right? And but again, we also found that percentage of predicted. Yeah, so we're only about 70% of what the predicted was. The predicted was 59, we're at 40, right? We're at about 41% or thereabouts. Okay, so there you go. We did lots of this already. All right, we're okay here. Good. Okay, so like I said, probably more than you wanted to know about this, but the math is here, and it just shows you where the whole idea of this example was. It shows you where what the model can tell you versus what really happens in the world, and how, but not dramatically different though. Okay, it's not dramatically different. Okay, and also while we're here, and you guys can see a little bit of the logistics of doing things in Excel. You could just take the picture here. We have this nice picture. Copy. K. Funded. Okay. We have all that. And I don't know, seeing this, we made this big here, but oh yeah. You can see how this is just whatever, 80%, or you can see how this, right? Can I get this whole thing in a screen? Almost, but as that we're getting to the atomic level. But again, the math is involved in this, in the this is exponential math is what this is. But it's got applications in finances, is whatever that is, but you know. Okay. So we gave you we gave the 50, whatever this was, the 51 year version too. We said we updated this without we're having to worry about, oh, did the book tell us, or the book company told us, or whatever. We did it ourselves. All right. So that's, but you gotta work, you gotta be able to work like that. Okay. So there you go. All right. This is here. We did the graphics. Yeah, but there are only two versions, not four versions. Okay, so next time we're together, we'll deal with the present value topic. We'll purple this out. So we're up there with that. Saving for future purchases and what have you. And this goes the car, buying cars or whatever. And this goes 500 lines or so of models here. And actually, yeah, why are these all filled in? We don't want these filled in. All right. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Some euros. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Rid of. Boy, folks, I apologize. There's a lot more here. I must have missed these. All right. So we're set up. We're set up for the next version. We're using euros on this next one, so that'll be interesting, right? To deal with that. All right, you save all that. And in terms of this, we stopped at 11. So what's going to be next here? So yeah, there's 7 of these. And then what's next? And level stream. Yeah, so the next one's going to go to 21 from all right, so this will be the next video. I'll just jam this into the remind myself to do it. This is not this one. This is here. And this was PowerPoints. 1 to 11. Yeah. Okay, we'll get to the Okay, we'll set this up, and you guys will be all set with this. Okay, we'll get to that. Go to more, and we'll pick out some text from the textbook for that. Okay, so go. Yeah. So present value will be the next set of videos. We did 3 videos on this, so you can see that this all took some time. So, but folks, I think we're done. Thank you, and like I said, we'll get to the PowerPoints next time. Time value of money 3, and this is multiples. So the multiple ones. Two of these. Nominal and real, different periods. Yeah, we'll get to the rest of it. Okay, folks, thank you very much.